Okay, we're going, bud.
We're going again?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just having playful banter with Gabe in the chat room. All right, so what do we have to do? Do I have to start all over again?
Yeah, let's just kind of start in with. I'll add the first part of the YouTube to this video, and hopefully we'll be fine.
Can't splice it together. You can't splice together a live show.
All right. So we were talking about Chris McGee and our team. Were you?
Right. Yep. Talking about our team and how awesome everybody is and how excited we all are. We talked a little bit about how busy JMac is tonight at the center there in Indianapolis. But we're going to talk about some game night stuff here for our second part of the show. But we always kind of do this every week. I don't know if people realize this or not, but we try to hit a topic that's relevant to new centers and existing centers and talk about the pros and cons of a topic. And then tonight we're going to hit a ggCircuit discussion, which will also be applicable to centers. New, old, big, small, it doesn't matter. And then we're going to hit some ggLeap stuff. So hopefully everybody can hear us now. JMac, I know you can hear me. Your end is loud. Holy cow, those guys are fired up. What is that, fighting game night?
Yeah.
What are they playing? Like, are they playing? Are they playing Street Fighter?
Street Fighter, and they're playing Marvel versus Capcom and a few other things. But
yeah, I did notice last week when I watched back the video, your mic was like quiet. Like I couldn't hardly hear you last week.
Yeah.
On the video, I can hear you good now.
So I cranked it up. All right, okay. I think we're good now.
All right, so let's get into this. So today, stuff happens to me so much. Like if I would just write down some of this, we could have like probably a show every evening right now. There's so much stuff going on. But I had a great guy in from Illinois this week, and I do this a lot every week. I do probably 2 or 3 consulting appointments now. Some of them in person, some of them now via Skype or phone. Next week, I'm actually going to try to hit up an appointment in LA when I'm out in UC Irvine. So I'm actually going to try to do a consulting appointment while I'm out there with a guy that's opening up a 100 or 200 station land center and wants some consulting. So just all kinds of stuff going on. Anyway, so the guy from Illinois that was in this week, we talked about a lot of stuff. You know, he has a business doing cell phone screen repair, and it's very lucrative and it's doing very well. He thinks that it's probably going to slow down in the next 4 or 5 years. He's looking at getting into the land center business. He came to me through the Esports for Education group. So there's a guy in that city that's a teacher that's trying to get esports going in their high school, and knew that we did stuff here in Indiana and they were close enough the guy could make a drive over. So he drove over and we talked. I hoped that it would be 2 or 3 hours. It ended up being about 5 hours. So he got more than he paid for when he hung out with me. But the fun thing is that, you know, I get to get a lot of it's beneficial to me as well. So while he's asking me questions and I'm giving him advice, and I say this to everybody all the time is, you know, I don't always know the right things to do, but if you ask me a lot of things, I know something that may be wrong. You know, one of the things that we've done for 12 years is we're a hell of a R&D facility. We've tried a lot of different stuff. We've built a lot of different stores, a lot of different layouts. We've worked with a lot of different people. We've traveled all over and done a lot of different shows. We sure as heck know what does not work. So if you think you've got a great idea, you want to run it by me, shoot it to me. If it's not something we've done, I'll be honest. Hey, that sounds good or bad. I'm not sure. A lot of times I'll be like, nah, that's not going to work. So the one thing I told him was you've got to have your existing business that makes money, that does well, in the same building as the business that you're about to start in the land center industry. You don't want to have 2 staff. You don't have to have 2 rents. You don't want to have twice the cost, twice the responsibility of keeping track of all those things. So we started talking about that, and my mind was blown, and this is what we're going to talk about is the future of electronic entertainment facilities is how I titled it. But the problem is we're all as land centers, we provide this entertainment facility, and that's really what we do, whether it's social, whether it's competitive or whatever. We're giving you a place to come and hang out and play, but we're also doing it in a medium that's future, it's electronic. You know, we've seen other things start up over the years, but in his town of 100,000 people, he already has 2 VR-only game centers. All right. He does not have a LAN center. He does not have anything with an Xbox, a PlayStation, a PC, or anything else. But in his small town of 100,000 people, he already has 2 VR centers. So I looked them up. They're 2 very different concepts. One of them has like a phone repair shop and 10 VR booths. So they're set up in these rooms. To me, it like kind of looks like a sun tanning place. So there's 10 VR booths. And you go in and they have like, he said one of his guys went there to kind of like check it out or whatever. And there was 3 people working, but nobody was in the store playing. And they basically take you into a room and get you set up with the VR stuff and have you do everything. The other one only has 3 VR stations, but one of them's mobile. And he said that one's a lot more active because they take the setup out in tents and go to festivals and they go to shows and they're at the mall for the Chamber of Commerce events and all those sort of things. So he's like, they're doing better even though they don't have as many setups. The one with 10 setups has like a mix. They have like the Vive. They have some Oculus Rift. I'm sure most of us will probably dabble into the new PlayStation VR when it comes out. But I started thinking about, the future of these things. And over time, there's been a lot of different changes that we've been in business for. And I know that everybody else that's been open longer may have experienced a lot, but we've been in business 12 years. The first big change that I noticed right away was the move from LAN play into online. That was a huge change that took everybody from playing in their homes or trying to go to a LAN party to play Counter-Strike into playing online, like with Battlefield. So I remember specifically like a big one we just talked about with the guys when we're talking about Battlefield 1 was Battlefield 2 was a huge online game. Battlefield, the original 1942, was very popular. It was the first online game, but to me, Battlefield 2 was the one that was just massive worldwide. That changed from LAN play into online play. Like the difference between Halo on the Xbox and System Link and Halo 2 with Xbox Live Online, again, was a huge change in the industry. Then we had the change where we moved into high definition. This was a change for the television industry. This was a change for the video game industry. So you went from Xbox to 360. You had to get an HD TV. It looked crazy different. Like when you put it up on a screen next to each other, you had an old CRTV, you had a new 3D TV. I mean, not a 3D TV, but a new HD TV that you could tell. I remember one of the first games that came out that I played a lot was Need for Speed on the Xbox 360, and I just remember being blown away by those graphics. Then in the middle, we've had other things come up that obviously have not taken off. We did some promotions through iGames where NVIDIA sent out some 3D technology. We got a 3D screen, 3D glasses that were like $150 glasses. You put them on, it changed the screen into 3D. And I remember sitting down with guys and they would sit down, they'd be like, oh, this is really cool. And they would play for a little bit, maybe World of Warcraft or one of the supported games. But after 15 or 20 minutes, like the newness and the coolness wore off and it wasn't very immersive and it just really never took off. I remember people buying 3D TVs for their houses and glasses and everything else. And again, that's not even on TV. I don't even see it on commercials anymore. I don't see anybody promoting it. That thing really petered off. I mean, just died. And so now we sit with this VR thing and everybody's kind of like betting on it. Obviously Facebook is fully invested into it. What did they buy? Oculus Rift? I think they bought Oculus.
Yep.
I think it's now a Facebook product.
Yep, you're right.
Sony's betting on it. I'm sure Microsoft will either tie in with one of these big ones or they'll start coming out with their own. They've got their new immersive thing where you see the people building Minecraft cubes on a desk, in their living room. But, what is it going to be? What is going to be VR? Is it going to be big? Is it big for sinners? Now, some of you sinners out there use it. I know Gabe's on our call. They have a Vive set up. I watch everybody. Many of you may not know this, but my Facebook page, I hide everybody. JMac's hidden. My wife's hidden. I don't follow any people. I follow LAN centers. I follow game centers. Follow industry companies. I see a lot of stuff that people post. So I see when Gabe out there at HUD Gaming, they've got their Vive working again and they're promoting it. I see when Chris Tom down at Game Republic's talking about their VR setup. What is it going to be? Is it going to be something for LAN centers? Is it something where we can set up 10 of these and people are going to come in and pay more to experience it? Will they pay more with this thing strapped on their head? Will they play more when they're tied down with a wire? Is it going to need to be wireless? There's a lot of questions, about that. Motion sickness is one of my questions. People a lot of times say, I played it, but I got a headache, because your brain and your eyes are telling your body that you're moving and all this stuff's happening, but a lot of times your body's not feeling, that force of gravity, and they're not feeling those G forces in a racing game and stuff. Game selection's still funky. There's a lot of cool, quirky games. To me, it's still very Kinect-like. Xbox Connect came out. It was cool new technology. Sony came out with their little eye camera thing. It was cool new technology, but it wasn't immersive. Like you didn't want to sit down and do it for hours and hours. Some of us were the number one Connect player in the world. This guy right here for many years, because I loved it as an interactive, get up off your butt and play video games, but it was not games that you would sit and play normally. I'm an achievement whore. There's no question about it. My gamer score is like 280,000. I'd do anything for to pop an achievement. So that's not a good indication. I can say the Connect in our stores were popular for a while. Birthday parties, younger kids came in, groups came in, mixed crowds. If you don't want to just pull in the 19-year-old males all the time, the Connect was a great thing to pull in. So maybe VR will do some of that stuff, but some of the really good VR stuff takes a big space as well. So, a LAN center may only have 2,000 square feet, 3,000 square feet. You can't really block off 200, 300, 400 square feet for just one setup where maybe one or two people can play. So there's a lot of questions around it. Now, here's what we're going to do. Here's what eBash is going to do. Now, and I apologize for doing this because, again, I tell people a lot of things and I suggest things, but I realize when I was talking to the guy yesterday about, he's like, where do you get your computers? And I'm like, oh, we have a great partnership with Alienware. It came after 8 or 9 years in the business and working real hard, and we got these other shows, and we go to Gen Con, we'd go to these big shows. That's why we've got it. Alienware wasn't interested in supporting my 2 LAN centers in Indiana by themselves, but that's who the partnership we have now. So we're going to work with some of those companies and get some VR setups in our stores and really give it a try and see, what's to be expected of featuring VR as another option to do in our centers. The one thing that we have is that we have racing simulators that we built on a contract for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We take them out to their races every year. We just upgraded them with new racing wheels this year, bumped them from the PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 4 this year so that we could run Project Cars. Project Cars is announced they'll support the Oculus Rift. So now we're looking at, okay, let's build a couple VR-ready PCs, put the Oculus Rift on, sit in our racing simulators and play Project Cars with 2 racers next to each other and see what it's like. Let's connect them together. Let's see what it's like. I don't know what it's going to be like. It could be like, boom, light bulb moment for when we made the move from Xbox to 360, from PlayStation, to 2 to PlayStation 3. It could be that kind of change from regular def television to high def. It could be just a fad, like a Kinect or like a 3D TV type of thing. I don't know, but we're going to try it. We're going to charge different prices. Obviously, I think that's evident that it's going to take different prices for us in our stores. It's really because we've got to dedicate personnel to it so that we don't have it overrun and abused by a lot of our regular gamers that are younger. Again, in my consulting with a lot of these people, I tell them, hey, Friday night in my Terre Haute store, I have 60 to 80 people that stay overnight all night with me. They're 14 to 15 years old, average age. My Indianapolis store, we can't hardly get anybody to stay all night on the weekends. It's in a bigger city. It's more of a tournament center. It's an event center. The average age in your right now with you, J Max, sitting around you playing in the Indianapolis store, what do you think the average age is right now tonight?
Early 20s.
Right. I mean, 21, 22, 23. It's very different stores. My 2 stores are very different. So not that you can trust a 24-year-old by themselves with a VR setup or yourselves with a racing sim, but they would be able to figure it out more, and hopefully they're older and they respect it a little bit better. That's my complaint with my staff in Terre Haute is we can't have anything nice. The kids just tear it up. Part of it's my fault because we don't staff the store well and we don't keep the kids engaged. We don't do enough stuff. We expect them to stay engaged with the same game all night. Older guys don't do that. So a lot of it falls back on us. But that's what we're going to try. Would I go out today and open up a brand new business betting just on VR? No way. Not a chance. I mean, it's gimmicky, it's catchy, it's trendy, it's buzzworthy. I think, again, a center doing it right could take these setups out to these remote events and get a lot of attention for their center with a VR setup out at a festival or out at a trade show or something like that. Next year, I'm sure we'll have VR setups that we'll take to all of our big shows that we do here in the Midwest. And I don't know. I can't say some of this. I mean, I can say some of it, but we're working on some partnerships with other people. We may be coming to a big show, say in Oakland, California in November. If you want to Google that, what's going on, we may be at that show. That may be the type of thing that we take our VR setups to and get a lot more traction from, because it'll be a gigantic event that has a lot of concentrated gamers with not a lot of other things to do. Whether we get our regular Tuesday night League of Legends players interested in doing VR on a regular basis, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be something that people come in, they'll pay double the price, triple the price as far as hours go in our center to do it. Again, we love to hear from some of you guys. I see Gabe is saying there's a couple games out that you can get into. Again, we know that's going to happen, and hopefully that will be something that transcends into regular play, booking the stations for longer periods of time. But I also watch, feedback on some LAN centers that have it, and people are like, I drove 2 hours to try out their thing. The girl at the counter didn't know what she was doing. She tried to call the other guy that knew what he was doing. I can't remember somebody's website. And again, I apologize. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody that's out there, but I just know I read some comments and reviews from a customer at a LAN center that has VR, and it was very negative because they didn't dedicate the staff and the personnel to that. You've got to be prepared, I'm sure, to do that in that situation. You can't just expect them to figure it out. So
it's and I'm not very intelligent when it comes to the VR stuff, but it seems like that's been around forever. And we've never really, obviously these Vives and Oculus Rifts and that kind of stuff has been a new generation forward. But I just wonder when that is actually going to happen, that we'll find a game like a Mario Brothers that comes with a Nintendo, or
right.
Super Mario Brothers, or a League of Legends type game that everybody can't live without.
Right. Again, you hate to use all these game titles because we get frustrated with the AAA titles just rinsing and repeating. But, Madden football, is somebody going to play with a VR headset on 24, like the whole time they're gaming with Madden football? Will they play with a VR headset the entire time? Not right now that I know of. That's not where VR's at today. They're not going to be sitting and playing League of Legends with a headset on the full time, whether they're competitive or not. You may just think it's cool, but I guarantee you they're not going to sit and play casual League of Legends, for hours at a time with a virtual reality headset on. Now, could new games come out that utilize VR technology that's not possible on the old system? To me, that's where there'll be that paradigm shift, and where you will actually go into another, I can't have this game without it. To me, right now, Call of Duty, Battlefield, the sports games, those things that come out every year, again, they thought Kinect would do that. They thought Kinect would get people off their couches and really playing Madden football, yelling at the camera, telling it what to do, doing motions, for things to call in play. It just didn't happen. That's not how people are going to switch. You're not going to get a Madden football player to become like a full-time VR player in the game that he's played for 8 years or something that Madden's been out. It's just not going to happen. So I thought that was an interesting topic I had with that guy. I wanted to share it with everybody else. We'd love to hear what everybody else is doing. I'll be interested to see when we go to UCI next week. I'm traveling out there for their grand opening. They're opening a state-of-the-art facility in a gigantic state-owned university complex, 31,000 plus students at UC Irvine. Is that going to be enough? Are they going to have enough to be able to get what they need to keep those players involved? I don't know. Am I still with you, J-Mac?
Yeah,
I can't.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I thought you froze on me.
No,
I'm so nervous because you left me last week. I don't want to be left alone.
I just know the deal here. I know I'm never going to get a word in, so
that's
I just
not
wait
true.
for you to breathe.
That's not true. That's not true at all. All right, let's move on. Let's start talking about game nights. Do you have anything else on VR?
I already said my piece.
All right. Well, like at the Indianapolis store, we have 7,000 square feet. We have plenty of extra space. There's no reason why we can't take a room and turn it into the VR room. One thing I do want to say is that when I looked at pictures of the VR only centers over in this town in Illinois, I thought it was funny. Because all the rooms are like white walls with no decorations on them. And I know that you put this headset on and you don't see the room. But to me, part of the experience would be like paint the walls to look like a dungeon. Like if you're going to play a scare game or a jump game or whatever, where there's zombies jumping out at you with the VR headset, then paint the walls and make it look like it's all brick and slime covered and whatever, like do something with it to make the experience a little bit better, because part of the experience is not just putting on the headset. It's, the experience starts at the front counter, your interaction with the person working, your experience putting on the headset, whether you feel comfortable, whether the space is big enough. Like there's a lot of other things that go with the experience besides what you see in your little goggles when you put them on. So anyway, all right, let's move on to game nights. This was a thing I talked about with him as well, but this is a very sensitive topic for you and I, as we've really tried to push, game nights and trying to get things going during the week. I mean, what blows my mind in this whole thing is that all of us have this. Players are always asking for events. They're always asking for tournaments. How do I become better? How do I find an event? How do I play in a tournament? So our idea was to not just get theme nights going, but to actually hold bracketed tournaments every week, score points in those brackets, and have those points add up week after week into a ladder format over 8 weeks to see who the best Hearthstone player in North America is. Now, using Hearthstone as an example, in my mind, this is very logical, but in my mind, there's a lot of centers in North America. We have 30 or 40 that are part of ggCircuit now. Let's assume we got 20 centers that could get 2 players each on a Wednesday night for Hearthstone. That's not that big of a deal. If you and I work hard, I think we can get 2 players each to get to show up at our stores. And then we have 40 players in this big giant bracket for Hearthstone on a Wednesday night. The problem is we're getting nobody. I mean, we're getting nobody for a lot of these games. Now, Overwatch is consistent now with a few centers. League of Legends gets a lot of players. Not a lot of them form teams and get into the brackets, but I feel like League of Legends draws some things. Shed some light on some of the numbers these first 2 weeks. We're in the 3rd week, I feel like, of this next round of ladders. Any of the other games getting any play at all?
No.
Counter-Strike? Has Counter-Strike had anything?
No, Counter-Strike hasn't had anything. Mostly Overwatch and a little bit of Hearthstone.
So you have had some Hearthstone.
Yeah, but I mean,
like how many players?
It's been like 2 or 3.
Right. So I don't know what we're doing wrong as ggCircuit communicating with the centers. I can honestly say we're also center owners, so we can then take this seed and say, what are we doing wrong? Like, why aren't we getting Hearthstone players to get here on Wednesday night? I kind of have some ideas why. But, so I just kind of threw out some ideas of why they're not working. Number one, weeknights are not good. We want people to come on Wednesday night for Hearthstone, but let's be honest, like the way America works, at least, weeknights are not that easy to get out and do things. If you work, you have work in the morning, or you might work late into the evening. If you have school in the morning, or you might have homework late at night. Like weeknights are typically not a convenient time to go join and do anything. I think, honestly, that is our biggest problem and our biggest hurdle that we're trying to overcome. Maybe game selection is no good. Let's talk about weeknights. Let's stop on each of these real quick, J-Mac, and just do a little back and forth with me. I mean, do you think that's one of the big problems, not having, players that can come on a weeknight? Because we've done game nights for years at eBash. Like Dota 2 is a game night on Tuesdays, and we're moving Dota 2 to one of the weekend nights, I believe. No, I think we moved it to Thursday.
Yeah.
So, and I saw right away some of the people are like, that's awesome. Tuesday nights are bad for me. Thursdays are much better. And I'm like, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. Like that night is just not convenient for me.
Well, in some of the ones that we picked, people are, especially on the console, is that the communities are kind of finicky about online play. Like in regards to Street Fighter, that's here tonight. We did 1 week, and I kind of fudged it because it was all eBash players, but we had 10 to 12 people in the bracket, and but they like to play next to each other. They don't like to play online because
Smash would be the same way. You're right.
Smash would be the same because it leaves too much to chance, whatever.
Right.
The other problem that we face, and it's just not necessarily, I don't want to say attitude, but it's just what they want to do when they come in is they want to play with one person that they're sitting next to, and they just want to grind out matches to reach their next level.
Right. And we'll talk about that. That's my third point. So save that thought for a minute. All right. So number 2, game selection is no good. Like, we tried to go through and put up a bunch of games, and you're right on with Street Fighter. Like, that's not a good game that works well across center to center. Like, it just doesn't mesh with, the fact that, I could have the best player here and you could have the best player in another city. Those two players, that's not how that game's made. It's not made for that. Maybe some of our other games are a stretch, I'm trying to think of some of our other team games that aren't working well. We have some sports games. We can't get anybody in for those. Like, maybe we just picked bad games. What do you think about the game selection? Overall, like, obviously, Street Fighter doesn't work. You've said that.
Yeah, but I think you've already hit it. It's just, if I worked a normal 40-hour job on a weekday,
right.
I would come home and I would take a nap and I would eat dinner and I would do whatever I had to do around the house and I go to bed. I wouldn't.
Right.
I might go out to eat one day a week. That's not driving home and it's so weird. Behind you, the counter is exactly like our counter back there. So you see people walk to that
I
think
counter?
It's back here.
And you're like, I've got to go help them. Well, let me ask you this. You used to do comedy sports.
Right.
That was on a weeknight, right?
But Thursday starts the weekend if you're in college. So, we did Thursday shows were the worst attended, but, we would get half a room full.
What about ping pong league? When was that?
That was Wednesday night.
I'm telling you, and this is so this leads into my next one. Like, I think part of the problems is that we're trying to pull people that are already coming to our stores into tournaments, and they're not here for that reason. They don't want to do those things because they want to be casual players. I'm telling you, there has to be people out there that are not coming to our centers that if we hit their sweet spot and we get the word out to them, they will show up to play their game, just like you used to play ping pong. Like, if that's your thing, you're excited about it, and you go to it every week, like, you get twitchy about it. I used to play slow pitch softball. Game nights were on, like, Monday nights and Wednesday nights. I couldn't wait until it was time for my slow pitch softball league.
Here's what I think is the key. I think it's that the online play is so impersonal.
Yeah.
That you've got these people in the cloud out there that you're supposed to connect to and play in a team rather than be in person. The ping pong thing was the one night a week at this center where all the regulars would come in because they knew it was a league.
Right.
They could talk to their friends that they played in this league, all week, where maybe that personal interaction isn't there. As much awesome as it is that we have this technology that we can connect online and play.
Right.
In the same vein as our normal esports tournaments that we have in store where all the teams come here, maybe that's just a disconnect.
Right. Well, and again, the fighting game community, they are behind you that come on Wednesdays is usually 10 to 20 players every week on a Wednesday night. And it's only local play, and that's what bring those guys out. Everybody that's anybody, if you're a LAN center and you're not hosting weekly Smash events, you're stupid. Start it right now. Go buy a couple Wii U's. Find your local Smash community. They're somewhere in your town. They're out there. They're going to a church. They're going somewhere. Charge them a venue fee. We charge $5. They come every week. They run their own brackets. They do their own tournaments, and it puts every Sunday for us. It puts 50, 60, 70 players in our center there in Indianapolis. Probably 20 to 30 in our center in Terre Haute. So, some of those types of games are made for that. They'll come out. They'll come on a weeknight. But again, the Smash guys probably wouldn't come during the week. I don't think we would get as many people during the week on Smash Night. Most of the weeklies that I know and then around like the towns around us are Friday or Saturday or Sunday. So anyway, what we're going to try to do, like there's a couple things we're going to try to do. We're going to try to kind of peter out some of the games that aren't necessarily games that will be able to get players right away in. They're not the easier games. So the sports games will probably go away. We may look at doing stuff and moving it to the weekends. So like have Friday night Hearthstone tournaments or Saturday night Hearthstone tournaments. To me, in my mind, as I say that out loud, that sounds more exciting. I think we'll get more people coming, but it kind of comes to like one of my last maybe, questions of why they're not coming? Do we not have reasons for them to play? Like, is it just not enough to play in a league and try to be like in a leaderboard and to win, the glory of your name at the number one spot? Do they have to have a headset? Do they have to have some money? Do they have to have a gift card? Do they have to have game time? Do they have to have a Mountain Dew? Like, is the problem that we've got to put the right prize in front of them? But, like what Gabe just said in the chat, like, a lot of times the tournament people aren't the regulars. So, maybe they're only going to show up for that. And again, I don't want to poo-poo that, because that's actually great. A lot of LAN centers are like, well, I don't do tournaments because it just brings people that aren't my regulars in. Well, what I say then is that you need to have more regular tournaments and bring those people in and make them regulars. Like, as long as you've got a way to charge something for them to play and you make a little bit of money on it, it doesn't do you any harm unless your center only has 5 seats and you're going to give 4 of them away to these people. Like, most of us have enough room in our stores that we can give them a corner, give them, a section of the store to have their tournament, and bring them in on a regular basis. Hold that, give them what they want. Maybe you'll turn them into regulars. We've done that with some of our people over the years. We've turned like tournament people into what we call the filthy casuals, like, they just grow up. They can't stay competitive. They get to know us. They like us. They start hanging out and playing other games with us. And now all of a sudden we've got a regular. So the big thing that we're going to try to do, and again, this is because of where we're at. We're working with UCI. We're working with Robert Morris. We're going to start looking at doing collegiate competitions. And then we're also working with Esports for Education. We're going to start launching high school competitions. So this is where I think we might be able to get people in during the week. So if you're a high school player representing your local high school and you're part of your esports club, and you can show up on Wednesday night to play in a high school Hearthstone esports league that's ran by this nonprofit group that's just done through ggCircuit software at your local LAN center, I think that will bring people out, and that might be the reason why they would come out and play. Because honestly, a lot of it might be what you said earlier, is they like to come to the local events because they can size up their competition and get to know them and really kind of know how they're going to stack up and get to know those players. I think if we level everything out and put them at a high school level or a collegiate level, they feel like it's a lot more even. It's a lot more fair. Like, to me, 2 high school teams playing each other in League of Legends is going to be a lot more competitive match than if we have 2 random teams matched up in a bracket where we're paying out $2,000 for a League of Legends tournament. Because those teams are going to come from all over and be, some of them are going to be, not very good, and some of them are going to be really good, and they're going to blow through each other. Whereas high school really, you really kind of get evened out. That's what high school sports is all about. There's classes of basketball, there's classes of football to make sure the school that has 5,000 students doesn't play the school that has 50 students. But at the same time, I love the movie Hoosiers. The fact that, any given year, at any given time, there could be 5 great League of Legends players at a small high school and whip the poop out of somebody at a big, giant high school. I think that's fun to think about.
Yeah, and, we've had I don't want to put my players in a bracket because the coins aren't worth setting them up or whatever. And I'm like, I'm kind of wondering if that's just an owner opinion or if that's the player opinion. And maybe if they knew that it was worth coins for an entry, it was worth coins for a win, and that's the status of where our prize vault is as well. Maybe they don't have something in the prize vault right now that they really, really want.
Right.
So why should I participate in this tournament, type of thing, which is going to change.
Yeah. And again, I want to figure out, and I think the high school collegiate levels maybe makes this a little bit easier to understand, but I want to just introduce people to play to be competitive. Like, play to be competitive. Like, you join a bowling league or you play in a golf league to try to figure out how you stack up. Sure, it's making relationships and something fun to do, and you love to play golf. But, guys that have a membership to play golf or they bowl all the time, eventually you want that level of competition. They're not in the bowling league because it's going to pay out $1,000. they're not in the bowling league, because they're super worried about, like little gimme things. They're there because it's competitive and fun. Like I want to go every week and see who I'm matched up against and see how I stack up, because in the end, and you're in a league or you're in a competition, if you've got 30 people in it, most people fall somewhere in the middle. The number one guy obviously goes because everybody knows he's number one or whatever. But if you just have a tournament where the winners have this giant prize, then all the people below the winner actually get nothing out of it. In fact, they feel like losers. And if you're in place 17 or 18 or 19 out of 30, you should still feel good because you finished in the middle of the pack. You're not terrible. You're not the best, but you do have a place, and there is, an identity with where you finished.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got to get a drink of my Gatorade.
No, that's okay.
I'm plugging.
It's about 10:45 or so. So do we want to move on to some of the final updates so people can get on their way?
Yeah, let's move into ggLeap and ggCircuit updates and talk about that stuff. So almost everybody knows, again, we announced it last week. It's all public. Everybody knows what we're doing. So last week we made it known that we have our own product, our own standalone product now. We're no longer going to talk about anybody else because now the focus is just on us. We're plugging forward. It has nothing to do with anybody else. So we are pushing for a couple key dates. We talked about this last week, but we have UCI, University of California, Irvine, came to us. They needed a solution. They tried other stuff. It was not working. We were close enough that we could push our development and get really closer to being in towards a full release. And so next week, they have their launch on the 23rd. So today is the 14th, and we've got 9 days until their launch. So we're working with them every day. Like there's probably 4 or 5 members of our team that are in different communication with somebody from UCI with things we're working on from them. At the same time, we've started bringing on early access adopters. So people that are like, hey, I want to try it out. It could be, we've got new centers that are not open coming on board. We have old centers that have been around for 15 years coming on board. We're trying to get through those as fast as we can, but we always want more. We want as many of you on board right now in early access. To cover again what it is that all we're asking for is at least $100 a month. Some centers can give more, some give a lot more, and we'll tell you why. But we want at least $100 a month. It has nothing to do with subscriptions now. All you're doing now is helping us through this massive development period as we get ready to launch the full-blown product. It's basically a beta. eBash is running it. There's a dozen centers almost now that are running it, not with anything else running. But we've got to push through some of these last features to get us out and open for everybody else to use.
Right,
all of that money.
Okay, go ahead.
All of that money that you're going to give us goes towards your subscription. So we just had a center that joined in Mexico. What's their name, Gamers Room.
I spent about an hour with them and then a half an hour just answering questions.
They're small. They're 20 stations, I think, or something. They're in our pricing plan. We're going to have a free version. We're going to have a $25 a month version, $100 a month, and then enterprise. They're going to be in the $25 a month category. So they were like, hey, we want to contribute. We want to help. We want to get involved. They're paying $100 a month. Every month they pay right now is just 4 months of the $25 subscription down the road. So none of this money's wasted. It's all used right now for development, and then they're going to reap the benefits of it down the road. If centers get to the $1,000 mark or higher, then those centers will also get a lifetime discount of 20% on whatever subscription they get. So a lot of the bigger centers have contributed a lot of extra money for us, and it really made this possible. There's no question that without our pioneer centers, we wouldn't be here today doing this. Mine's one of them, but mine's not the biggest. eBash is doing this right along with everybody else, but other centers are chipping in even more than eBash right now. Granted, my centers are the guinea pigs. Like I throw my staff at the mercy of betas. Updates come out and we test it and we figure out if it's broken first. But, there's other centers that are right on board. They're going to get 20% off all those subscriptions down the road, whatever level they pick. And all the money they have is credit that they've built up for the point that we go live and we go open. So we want as many of you on this as possible. There's a lot of things that we're still working on. Some people that have been on a week can already attest, like they came in last week and already this week there's updates that are fixing things. we're pushing for the release of UCI next week. And I want to touch on a couple things that we just finished or are about to be released for that update that's coming next week. Next week, JMac, we may have to do, I'll see if I can find a place to do our Twitch cast from UCI. I think would be kind of fun.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
So I'll see if I can find a corner of their esports room and do it on Wednesday night, give everybody a sneak peek for the thing before it comes out. I'm sure they'll let me do it. Those guys watch a lot of our Twitch casts, so all you guys at UCI, I'm not going to name you by name, but make sure I've got a place to do this from next week. So what we're doing is we're doing a massive client lockdown. Now, most LAN centers have no idea what this means because we've never had to deal with it before, but we cannot run anything in a university network that has above standard user permissions in the Windows domain. So all of us are used to having full administrative access when we run our software, and then we can kick off batch files and we can kick off all of our little stuff that, again, we all made to try to make our centers run. So the idea here is that ggLeap is going to make our centers run. We don't have to do all those extra programs and things. And we've actually found a way to run our software at a pure standard user level. And if you guys ever want to get geeky with it, you can obviously jump on with one of our guys. We'll get a time for you to talk with Chris, Andy, Colin, some of those guys that are doing the project. But the thing that we found out today is we're going to deliver this to UCI. UCI drilled holes in every other product they tried. It took them less than 5 minutes to deem all the other software out there unusable in their environment to run their LAN center. They literally had no options when they came to us on the security side. This was number one on their list. We're solving that for them. We're releasing this next week. All the centers will get it. The cool part about it is the way that Chris and the guys did this is that as it starts up, it will recognize and it will try to do things. And if it's not permissible, it will react to that in the LAN center environment versus the university environment. So if there are things that we want to do and you give our product admin access in your Windows domain, in your Windows environment, then we'll be able to still do the things that you want to do if you want to do some other things. Now, chances are if it's something that has to do with everyday LAN center use, we're building the functions into our software so you don't have to have all that add-on stuff anymore. But we want to be as secure as possible for UCI, and we're going into Robert Morris University, and we've already had a half a dozen other universities start contacting us now that they know what we're doing. So the university side is really driving a lot of this security stuff, but it's stuff we should have all looked at and thought about back in the day because, again, we can't all watch our centers with 50 or 60 PCs to know that that guy over in the corner is not up to no good. On that PC trying to do some stuff.
Now,
so it's a big one. This is a huge one. It doesn't seem to be big, but it's a very, very, very big one for us, and I'm super, super proud and excited of it.
Now, that's my question. Again, being ignorant of the hardware side and the guts of software, being in my web design development bubble, why is this such a breakthrough thing?
We've dealt with this forever. The example I gave to you today, is anybody that's ran software in this environment before, you're dealing with UAC, user authentication controls, whatever it is. Depending on the level you give it, and again, as we went from XP to Windows 7 and Windows 7 now to Windows 10, it just keeps getting more locked down and more difficult to run our games and to run our programs that we need to run in that environment because Windows by default is going to be like, sure, you want to do that. This is a third-party program. We can't verify the author of this thing. So the UAC issues and things become completely irrelevant. Because if we're able to run at a standard user level, Windows itself isn't like bird dogging our software, like constantly watching it and saying, okay, no, you can't do that. Are you sure you want to do that? And all of those prompts and things that we've done in the past. I mean, what did you do to fix it? Like, what did we all do to fix those problems? Is we went in and we turned UAC off. Like, we just told Windows, don't monitor our security. I know what I'm doing. Just assume that everybody can have full access to do whatever they want on this PC. And again, I was super surprised being a user of a previous software product, and I've used other products in the past. I was super surprised how quickly the IT department at UCI blew through other software that I thought was super secure. Like, I had no idea. I don't think many of us have any idea the software we're using has holes in it as easily accessible as what these guys did. Like, I was like, what just happened? Like it was crazy. So again, we love this challenge. We love the thought process. At first, we were like, oh man, this is going to slow us down because we now got to dedicate time to figure out how to deal with the security issue. But in the end, it's the right thing to do. It gives us that core, that base project. And I just want to touch on this real quickly as I say that. A lot of people come on the early access and they look at it and they're like, well, how far along are you, whatever. The underlying architecture of our product is second to none. The way that we've set this up and the way that we communicate in messaging through our client and our servers online in Alienware, in Amazon Web Services is crazy, crazy advanced. And it's something that we're so proud of. And if anybody has ever done any software project ever, the thought of communicating from all these different clients from different LAN centers with servers that are online and making all that stuff happen in an efficient and secure and encrypted manner, like it is a pretty big project. The stuff that we've done over the last 9 months is humongous to get us to where we're at the point today. Now we're adding features and polishing the core product that is by far the best foundation that any other product's ever been laid on to build all the other features. Everybody else can start building features to try to match some of the cool stuff we're doing, but the underlying foundation we've set is brand new, fresh out of the box, state of the art, and nothing else will compare to it. Okay, some other quick stuff, because I know we're getting close to an hour already. Some other quick stuff that we're working on besides the security thing. The offers are coming out soon, so you'll be able to add an offer, associate a price with it. The ggLeap early access people in our Facebook discussion group, we've shown them screenshots. We got feedback. We put a lot of those ideas into this as we're bringing it out. Again, if you want to be early access, if you want to help shape this product, all you've got to do is join at the $100 a month level or higher, and we put you in this private group, and you give us feedback. And not to be mean, and not that everybody's opinions aren't valid, but the people that support us are the ones that we're going to support. So just this week we discussed the offers window. 2 or 3 ideas came out that I was like, that's awesome. That's a great idea. We need to integrate that in the product. So offers will come out this week or this weekend. They'll be released probably Monday in an update, if not before then. And then we'll all be able to make day passes. We'll all be able to make them. The coolest thing is that you'll be able to pick up a user, click on a user, and see what offer is active, and see what offers are pending, and see what offers have expired. Again, we're not throwing a log at you of just this stuff. It's going to be a visual representation of the user JMac with the graph to show how much of that offer you've used, and if it's in process right now or if it's queued up for a future date. It's going to be phenomenal. Yeah. It's simple, it's clean, but it does everything that we all need it to do in such a great way of letting a person at the counter manage it that's not a IT genius to figure it all out.
Yeah. Can I touch on something real quick?
Sure.
A couple of things for the early access people. One is, if you're in early access and you get membership to our private group where we talk about all the stuff that you're talking about. But a lot of times with the early access comes 10 or 20 questions about when's this going to be done, when's that going to be done, that kind of stuff too. If you're in our early access group, you will see a clear picture of where we're going, what we're working on right this second, what's coming up on deck. And you mentioned support. Right now we have a 3-headed monster of myself, one of our individuals in Ireland who's on our Ireland team, and then another employee at eBash Terre Haute. And with each person we set up, now granted we're 20 to 25 centers right now that have either had a demo or have early access, and we've installed it, and they're either testing or they're ready to switch over or have an actual software for the first time. I lost my train of thought because I want to tell you another story.
The 3-headed monster.
But we'll create a Skype group for your center and we're on all the time, 24/7. We'll get back to you as quickly as we possibly can. The great thing about our architecture is I can pull up your center in a web browser. I can control your PC. If you're in Canada, I can control it from Indianapolis.
Yeah, what did you tell Game Haven? They had an issue with we had a small bug with underscores.
Yeah.
And
Aldo says, Aldo,
and you're like, well, I'll have to fix
manager,
it. He's like, I'll have to fix it when I'm in there tomorrow.
Yeah, he had an issue with a username because we had a username bug, and he's like, I'll fix it in there tomorrow. I'm like, Aldo, just do it from home in your PJs on the web browser.
Just pull it, and he's like, oh, ding, light bulb. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We can administrate our center from a web browser now.
We keep an eye on stuff in TeamViewer if we're working with you, so we can see what's going on. And I'll say it. I'm not going to say who, but I worked for 3 days with a LAN center owner who wasn't super tech savvy, and she had some issues with Windows, and I tried to help her through that. She had to work with Microsoft and that kind of stuff, and at the end of the day, I just wanted to get her going. So I worked with her on 4 or 5 PCs until she felt comfortable enough installing the software, and that's the kind of support that we're given right now.
Yeah, and again, as we branch out into other countries and other regions, our plan is that we have people in each of those regions. So a lot of these people that are coming on for support in other countries are going to become our J-Max, our Rosses, our Dustins in these other countries, in those native languages, in the same time zones those people operate in. Because I think that's key. I think that's very, very big, is that, our software is, the foundation of it is that we are all LAN center owners. Like, that's what we do. We may be esports arena owners, we may be LAN center owners, we may be cafe owners, but we all do this for a living. And this is our lifeblood, and we all want the same thing. So unless, and I use this probably too much, but unless somebody wants me to figure out how to launch some sort of pornography software that I have an ethical problem of supporting, there's not an idea that somebody's going to bring us that's probably not something that's applicable for all the centers involved. We'll look at all those things, and we'll try to make sure that we take all of this feedback in and do the best things for the majority of the centers all the time. This is not us building what we want. This is us building what the industry all has asked for. That's what we're out to do here. Okay, quickly, let's go through this other stuff. So client lockdown, creating offers. We got some new user registration process coming in. So you'll come to the front counter. You can create the user's account in your admin window in the browser at the front counter. Then you go out and sit down and you create the rest of your account as a user. That's common in all the other software that's out there. It's just something that we waited to add because it wasn't a necessity. But we're adding that in, especially for the UCI launch, because again, I just saw today that they've already got like 1,000 people marked attending their Facebook event at the university grand opening next Friday. We've got a lot of UI updates and improvements. These are things that are currently being worked on by individual developers on our team. So these aren't things that we hope to get to. These are the things we're doing right now. JMac is now jumping in. We're redoing the sliders, and we're working on the leaderboard installation for UCI. So again, that'll be trickle-down effect. Whatever we build there will be available and will become available in the slider system for all the other centers to choose, which again, if you don't use that, you're a ggCircuit center. You've got to be using that. It's as easy as putting a TV on the wall. You can go select your center, select all the screens you want, hit start, and it just runs a slideshow in a full screen browser on any TV, on any monitor you want to put in your store. So I don't even care if you don't have a big TV. Take an old crappy 17-inch monitor that you don't use anymore, stick a Raspberry Pi or stick an old PC on it that has a web browser, and put it on your front counter facing your customers, and you'll be surprised how that gets people engaged in playing and trying to earn coins and trying to win prizes. So those things are all in process now. Now, on deck, again, if you're in ggLeap Early Access, we have an online document that everybody follows, and all this stuff's written out, so you know what's coming up next. You know what's being worked on now. It's all about communication. We want to communicate with everybody all these details. But next up is, and again, for the launch next week, we have to have reporting done. So now that we've got offers going in with prices, we've got to have reporting done. So at the end of the day, you can run a report and see what your sales are. So daily, weekly, monthly reports on your sales will be coming out next week. It's something we have to have done for UCI. Up, light bulb, showers of blessings on everybody else. All of us get the same thing. So eBash has been waiting for it, so we can stop using a separate point of sale system and we can just start using this exclusively to run our stores. That's a big one people have been waiting on. Full ggCircuit integration will happen as well. So it's almost there. It's basically there. eBash is doing it. Now we'll have to tweak things on it because we're not going to pull your users and all of their stuff and create and bring all those over into the new system. All of your old systems, the third thing on this list is export and import from other systems. We're going to have that tool. You'll be able to export your users out of any old system and import them into the new ggLeap system. No problem. Now, we can't bring everything with us because there's a lot of faults with what else is out there. Everybody else does not use password requirements that are industry standards for security online. So we cannot bring passwords over from other software. So users will have to create a new password in this. What we're going to do is we'll create a whole new account with that username reserved for that player in ggLeap. What we'll try to do is bring over any time balances with it. So if they have 5 hours or they have something now, we can't bring over the uniqueness of an offer. So either we bring over the raw hours or you just keep that system running for a period of time while you transition over to the new system so that you can refer to old data. But, we can't look and trust the data from any of these other softwares out there. It's just not possible for us to do that. Easy for us to bring in usernames, no problem. I'm Bozak. I want to be Bozak in the new system. It's reserved. It's ready for you. We can bring first name, last name over. We can bring email address if you've got that. Any of that type of data we can export and import in the new system, and that'll be one of our tools. That's on deck up. And then the last thing, which is a big one for a lot of centers, CC Boot support. CC Boot themselves reached out to us. They're interested in testing the product, making sure that there's anything they can do to make sure their product works well with us. They see the writing on the wall. They know the partners that are working with us. They know the relationships we have in the industry. So that is one of our things. So on deck, these are not features we hope to get to. So as soon as we finish the things that we're working on now, we're moving right into daily, weekly, monthly reports, ggCircuit full integration completed, import, export of old systems, and CC Boot support. Those are the things that we'll probably talk about next week. They'll be on the ticket. I know we'll have reports done next week. We'll probably have ggCircuit integration done next week. And then the week after that will be a big one for all the centers waiting to make the full shift. If you're ready to move over to do this full time, import, export, and CC Boot support are probably the last two things that I've heard from a lot of people as I can't do it till you support. I mean, CC Boot, if you run your center on CC Boot, you can't work without it, and it's honestly something that it's not a daunting task for us to undergo, but it's just not mission critical for us to meet the UCI launch date next week. So it'll be the thing that happens right after we make sure they get off the ground. Now, quickly as we finish up, why is the UCI thing so important? I just want to share this little story and we'll kind of finish up here. UCI is very, very important because everybody in the industry is watching them. And a lot of people are talking to them. So it has enabled me to strike up a conversation for the first time ever with people at Valve and specifically talking about Steam and talking about other opportunities of working with Valve and with Steam in ggLeap in ways that we have never dreamed of from a LAN center before. So the best we ever got was, support from the cafe program that was back in the day. You could pay so much money and be officially licensed with Valve and for using Steam in your store. We're talking about taking this to a whole nother level with integration of Steam and specifically Valve games with ggLeap, because the only reason they're talking to us, and I hate to say this as a LAN center owner, but most people in the industry don't like LAN centers, don't care about LAN centers. We're not big enough. We're not unified. We don't go to them with any kind of voice or reason. And most of us worldwide cannot be trusted. Most LAN centers worldwide are viewed as pirates. They run pirated software. They don't pay for the software. And my point with Valve and the Steam Group is, it's not affordable for us to buy all the games to be able to run them at full price in the stores. And so our players suffer the ability to play other games because we can't afford to buy them all. Like, we're willing to go to bat. And my pitch to them is that I want us to look at a Netflix model. I want us to look at a model where it is a subscription model. They can track pay by use and reward the right company with the hours played. And why can we do that? Why is that possible? Because ggLeap is there. Because we have a fully secured system running locally that has online servers that is not possible for a LAN center to hack. Every other software out there that runs on a server in your building, the potential is there for somebody to fake that, to hack that, to reverse engineer that software and steal things that they don't own. That's why people have avoided the LAN center industry forever, because that's what the LAN center industry is full of. It's full of guys and gals that have figured out how to hack things to make it work. That's what we've all done from the beginning. Originally, you couldn't run a CD game without having the CD in the disk tray. And what did we do? We used pirated software to virtualize the CD drive and try to hand out keys legally, but we used pirated methods to do that. So these people aren't going to work with LAN centers. Now I can go to them as the software provider that's representing these universities building esports arenas. It changes everything. It changes a quick return to email or a quick phone call into phone calls and emails back to us. I'll leave everybody on this last thing. You got anything else, J-Mac, or not?
Nope, I'm enthralled.
Okay, so I'll leave everybody on this last thing. So we're working with I'll just say it. We're working with ESL. So we're talking with ESL about some cool stuff. Working with them. And we know some guys over there. We've talked with them about taking our eBash Gen Con model out to their big giant events. We're busy. They're busy. We've talked for a while for the last few months, but we're talking with them, and hopefully we can meet up with them maybe while I'm out in California next week for the UC Irvine thing. But we're talking with them about doing some things with them at their big events. And as these emails go back and forth and phone calls go back and forth, the one I got back today, which was completely crazy to me, but I talked about the cost for us to do this and what we could do for the gamers at their big events and all these other things. And I mentioned that the software we have is being used by UCI and Robert Morris University, and we're talking with other universities. And that changed the conversation completely. Like, different people were added into the thread on the reply. Oh, we've got a division for that. Oh, we're really looking at that. We're ready to get into the university collegiate market. What can we do for you? How can we work with you? Like, the conversation completely changed from, yeah, you sound interesting, send me a proposal, and I'm sending proposals and trying to sound cool and awesome, to now, you guys are cool and awesome. We need to talk to you and figure out how to work together. Like, those things are happening because this UCI opportunity, and I couldn't be happier with where we're at or where we're going. So we're pushing for that launch next week. We want to make sure UCI hits a home run, and we're doing that for all these other reasons, because there will be doors open, maybe not directly, but definitely indirectly. And it definitely gives us a feather in our cap to say, here's what we are. Here's what we've done for years and years and years. Here's the group of people we represent all over the world at LAN centers and esports arenas. Here's what we're now doing with universities. All those things together means you need to talk to us. You need to find out how we can work together. You need to find out how you can give us keys to Battlefield 1, and we can distribute those out to LAN centers next month when the game comes out.
All right, I'm just going to end it.
Peace out, brother. It's a fun, exciting time.